don't know what you do about that.
Peter, is it Meridian guest?
I know, just heads down.
Just focus.
That's a secret.
What do you say?
Meridian guest capsule. I'm not sure there are any others that
Well, I did all
the Boy Scouts are here for the presentation. We're mostly
Okay, very good.
I would say.
No, right, yep.
I got the people enough to hear us.
Oh, there it is. And that tells people how much time they have.
Oh, sure.
What you was?
Please, right?
Oh, yeah. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure.
We are magicians.
This was more my.
You on the internet? This is your browser.
Hi, Marta. How are you?
Guys,
Welcome.
Good to see you.
today
We're making it work.
you made it. You're so gentle.
Had it well.
This is your technology.
Good evening, everyone. It is 6:02 p.m. We will call this regular meeting of the Township Board of the Charter Township of Meridian to order. First on our agenda this evening is the Pledge of Allegiance. Will those who are able please stand and join me in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, I'll ask for a moment of silence in memory of Auden Robinson, who tragically passed away this last week. Thank you. Our next item on the agenda this evening is a roll call. Clerk Guthrie, will you please call the roll?
Thank you. Supervisor Hendrickson?
Here.
Clerk Guthrie is here. Treasurer DeShane?
Here.
Trustee McCurtis?
Here.
Trustee Sunland?
Here.
Trustee Trezise?
Here.
And Trustee Wilson?
Here.
All board members are present.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We have a number of presentations this evening. The first one will be for our pancake breakfast. And I'd like to invite TJ Booms from the Fire Department and Ted Ferris from the Boy Scouts of America up to the podium to present on what sounds like a very well-attended and successful event.
We have two subs for TJ.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. It was last minute.
Amanda and Nate.
Well, welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I guess I'll lead off. I'm Ted Ferris. I worked with the Scouts in this area since 2001. And in 2017, we got the pancake breakfast started, so we've been doing it since then. Our purpose is to raise funds for Scout camperships and Scout scholarships. And this last year, we sent 11 scouts, 10 scouts to camp, and we had one scout take a scholarship and go to our National Youth Leader Training. I don't know, you're probably not too familiar with scouts. When I got started back in it as an adult in 2001, I took what's called Wood Badge. And as a faculty member at Michigan State, this was much higher elevation training on team building. You learn the four stages, the forming, norming, storming, performing. And I've seen that, especially the storming part, especially when you put kids on the trail or take them to summer camp. The youth leader training does the same thing. It's a week-long activity, so it's really one that we are promoting for our kids to take, because they learn how to work together in a group setting. They learn how to figure out who's good at what. And when you figure that out, you can actually solve problems much more quickly. So that's part of the goal there. So that's where our money goes. These guys do the cooking. This year they did something else. We do this at the 242 church, and got there at 6 o'clock in the morning, and the lights were flashing and the alarm was going off. And come to find out, the sprinkler system had gone off. And fortunately, it was only letting water down in the hallway where the offices were. It wasn't in the big area where we were doing the breakfast or in the kitchen. So Amanda shows up with the whole crew to put out whatever. So they dealt with that. Fortunately, they had a key to the door, because at that point, we weren't in yet. We could just watch the lights. So they got that resolved. And then the firefighters every year cook the breakfast. The scouts serve the breakfast and bust the tables. So we have scouts from 3 troops here. So Troop 97, stand up. Troop 164, stand up. And Troop 125, stand up. And then we have, I know one gentleman from Pack 264, he's one of our Cub Scouts. So these are individuals, some of them have benefited from the camperships. Others just have worked and make sure this thing happens. So we appreciate their help, as well as the firefighters. And TJ's not here, but anyway, so he's got good representation. So they're actually going to do. The hard part is present the checks out. So, and one check goes to MDA, and that's not Michigan Department of Ag, it's Muscular Dystrophy Association. So they're kind of the donor or the recipient from the firefighters, along with the scouts. So.
Yeah. Just wanted to say a quick thank you. We've been working with the troops for as many years as I've been on. I've been with the fire department a little over 8 years, and I can remember helping out the pancake breakfast almost every year. It's a good working relationship. It helps both of us. We get to raise money for the Muscular Dystrophy Association and also help out the troops at the same time. So we really appreciate it. It's fun to work with the kids, and we get to cook pancakes, and that's always fun too. So we appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Let's go to the troops over there. Yep. Someone want to come up?
A couple of guys, scouts over here.
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple of scouts.
One sec, come on.
Anyone.
And the Cub Scout, 264, come on over. Yeah, you guys over
You
here.
guys want to hold on to it? You guys earned it. All right.
Nice.
Everyone deserves it.
Do you want to take a picture up front?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Oh, you can find one. I'm getting in here too. Squeeze in. There you go. Right here.
If they step in front of the podium. Can you step in front of the podium?
Yeah, absolutely.
That way that won't be in the way when you take a
Mine's
picture.
long.
Yeah.
Let's go up and over. That media background.
Wonderful.
All right.
Thank you very much. Next up is a very special portion of the evening as well. We have a recognition of 2 amazing volunteers here in Meridian Township. And to recognize them, we have Interim Manager Tim Schmidt and Deputy Manager Dan Opsmer. Not sure in which order you plan to go, but I will leave you to figure that out.
Good evening, Supervisor Hendrickson and board members. So I have the honor and privilege of introducing our first Volunteer of the Year award. This recipient chairs probably one of the most difficult bodies that the township has to chair, and it has to be one of the most thankless tasks in local government, if not the most thankless task, and that is Chairperson Alexia Mansour, Chair of our ZBA. So for those who don't know, who are in attendance or watching from home, the ZBA takes up cases where a property owner, whether it's a single-family property owner or a business property owner, may want to have a slight variance from the township's zoning ordinance. That could be building your deck 1 to 2 feet closer to the property line. That could be amending or having a front yard setback that is 4 feet different than what the zoning ordinance would allow. And obviously, these are matters that are very personal to folks. They're investing in their property. They've given a lot of thought to what they want to do. And that thought that they've put into that hasn't always taken into consideration any ordinances that the township has to govern what property owners can and can't do with that private property. So it can be a very challenging meeting. Tensions can run high. Emotions can get involved. And Meridian Township has great leadership because we have Chair Mansour, who always governs that meeting and chairs that meeting with empathy, professionalism, but also just very clear communication, right? I think everybody in the room, not everyone walked in knowing what that body needed to do and what standards it was going to use. But Chair Mansour always makes sure that everyone leaves the room with a very clear understanding of what needed to be done and what the standards of review were for that applicant. Under Chair Mansour's leadership, we've also had proactive updates to our policies, right? We've updated the front yard setbacks in the Lake Lansing overlay district, not special assessment district. We've also updated, after many decades of using the same standards of review, we updated our review standards for all those variance requests. I think that was 3 or 4 decades in the making. And so I just briefly would like to walk through the past 3 years of Alexia's leadership at the ZBA. So in 2022, the Zoning Board of Appeals heard a total of 14 different requests. And that was the year in which they took up the updates to the overlay district for Lake Lansing and also their standards of review. Those 18 requests that they had that year covered everything from commercial signage to residential structures, such as decks and additions, including the MSU to Lake Lansing pathway, which we now have phases 1 and 2 constructed. There was one denial that year after various fact-finding was conducted by staff, in which case work was done without a permit. Another instance where sometimes people are denied after investing, significant sums of money. So just another case of how critical it is to have good leadership at the ZBA. 2023, the Zoning Board of Appeals heard a total of 11 different requests. They denied 2 of those requests, one for a lot split and one for a wetland setback, where it would have infringed on the wetland setback requirements in the zoning ordinance. And then in 2024, the ZBA heard 10 cases. Well, as of right now, they've heard 10 cases, covering anything from decks to outdoor seating areas to signage on commercial buildings and accessory dwelling units. And then, of course, the ZBA also did contribute to the sign ordinance update that interim manager Schmidt and his team helped lead the way on. But obviously, that's one of those recurring things that comes before the ZBA. And Chair Mansour made sure that herself and her colleagues weighed in on that so that we would have good policy here in Meridian Township. And so with that, I would like to introduce our first 2024 Volunteer of the Year Award recipient, Chair of the ZBA, Alexia Mansour.
Well, I wasn't really expecting all that, but I do thank Dan, because Dan has served on the ZBA with me. A lot of you here on the board have served with me on the ZBA. And I learned everything I know from Brian Boshape, so I do thank him. Hopefully he's somewhere watching, I hope. But he was a excellent kind of mentor for me to learn what the ZBA is about. In 2018, I joined the ZBA because I just wanted to do something in our community and to give back and to participate and to show my girls over there that you should be a part of your community and that you should always participate and support those around you, and anything you do is going to help the people around you. So ZBA has been wonderful. We have had some tricky meetings. Scott was with me on a few of those. Phil and Peter have been with me on a few of those. And Dan has been in a few of those meetings as well. But it's wonderful to be able to contribute something to a place that I love to live and that I'm so proud to be a part of and to support. So I appreciate this. This is a huge honor, and I did not expect such a glowing speech from Dan. So very well appreciated, and keep doing the work that you're doing to help us have the best board that we can have also. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
I'll do pictures. So I have the honor of introducing our second volunteer of the year, and you know, I could have introduced both because I've interacted with both of them in my time here, and I'm glad that Dan was the one to introduce Alexia, because I would have focused entirely on those denials, because those are easily the most difficult thing that we do as a public, at the ZBA, doing a denial, because it is almost all the time going to put you into court. And Chairman Sort has done a phenomenal job on those 3 cases alone in my time here, not to mention all the other ones. So kudos. But I have Dr. Bill McConnell as the second volunteer of the year, and you know, I have the list of accomplishments that I'm going to briefly go through here. And you know, he has served, you know, for at least 16 years, chair of the Environmental Commission, serving on the Planning Commission, has served on other boards along the way, associate professor of geography, environmental and spatial sciences in the College of Agricultural and Natural Resources, multiple published research papers on sustainability, land use, land cover change, stuff that near and dear to my heart, probably would have been my area of focus had I gone into academics. So this is talking my bread and butter here. Recently retired, but still very much involved with campus. Through his work on the Environmental Commission and the Planning Commission, has helped lead the charge in updating arguably 2 of our most important planning documents, the Comprehensive Master Plan on the planning side and the Climate Sustainability Plan on the environmental side. Really 2 of the focuses of this community, right? If you think about us as a community, very strong environmental focus, very smart, intelligent growth focus when we've had the opportunities. And so Dr. McConnell has had a very important role to play in both of those. And I think what I really want to relay here is how well suited he has been to the job in his time. When you're talking about land use decisions, inherently there is a conflict in many ways with environmentalism, right? And new built environment often conflicts with existing natural environment. Obviously, as we move into more redevelopment and things of that nature, which is where our comprehensive plan is going, and Bill has been help pushing it that way through the last 2 updates, there's less conflict. But even in those cases, Bill always comes at the problem from an environmental ethos, knowing that there is a process that we have to go through legally to keep us solid. And he is always trying to get the best environmental project and the best land use project at the same time, right, for any given project. And that's a very tough thing to balance, and it happens time and time and time again. And I think that, to me, is really the heart as to why Bill has been a phenomenal member of our volunteer team over the last 16 years. I mean, that decision point comes up so regularly, and he has been at the touch point of that so many times, and he's done a great job of really balancing those things over and over again and really pushing us in a good direction as a community while still allowing for the growth we need to survive and thrive under Michigan's taxation system. And so that and many other reasons, you know, Dr. Bill McConnell is our second volunteer of the year in 2024.
Well, it's wonderful to be with you all again here tonight, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate this recognition and the kind words that Tim has offered. I guess for a lot of us in the room, and especially at the dais, civic participation was kind of baked in early. In my case, my parents were professional educators who actually met through scouting back in the 1960s in California. Gave of their time to service organizations like Rotary, serving on grand juries, participating in civic life. So for me, it feels very natural. So when I landed in Meridian Township, I found a very natural home, very fertile ground. A lot of really interesting stuff was getting going just as I got here. So it just helped to encourage me to hit the ground running. Sometimes we forget how important it is that our families are able to support us in taking on these additional responsibilities, or maybe just wanting us out of the house. But I've certainly benefited by that. And I've been inspired by the folks that I've had a chance to work with on various boards and commissions, including folks here at the dais who have risen to the challenge of committing their time and energies and intellect to the community when the community called them. So I thank you for that. I'm not going to try to name my heroes because I might skip one because there's so many, but I can tell you I meet them out in the wild today. And it's, while I certainly don't agree with a lot of other people's policy positions or their priorities or their opinions, but I can't recall an instance of questioning another community participant's motives. Yeah, there's been some harsh words or bickering at times, but in this township, I feel like there is such a strong motivation to move together through consensus that it's very reassuring. I'm also very motivated by the challenges that we face as a community, as a state, as a nation, and as a planet to some of the things that we see happening around us. And the wisest voices I hear responding to that are telling me, redouble your efforts at building community at whatever level you can, however you can. Find common ground, identify some shared visions, and pursue them. So I appreciate all the folks I've served with here in the township and look forward to continuing. I did also want to give a quick shout out, since we've got the television on, to our long-serving environmental programs coordinator, Leroy Harvey, who's faced some particular challenges recently, and we all wish him the best. Thank you very much.
If you guys don't mind, if you wouldn't mind stepping back up here so we get a couple of pictures, I would greatly appreciate it.
And if I could just say, just because you're winning Volunteer of the Year does not mean your service is over. Right? we need you to stick around.
Yes, it didn't occur to me either. Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Don't stand like 3 more. 1, 2, 3. Perfect.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. If you want one, that's
Right.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the plaque. Brought it for a reason.
No, please do.
1, 2, 3. Perfect. Thank you both.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you both very much. We very much appreciate your service. Next up this evening, we have Josh Robertson, who is here to talk to us and give us an update on the Senior and Community Center Task Force. I know that Luann Mazer was on our calendar to join us as well. Unfortunately, she couldn't make it this evening. So Josh has the unenviable task of giving an update on the task force's activities solo, and we appreciate your willingness to do that.
Absolutely. Thanks for the time. Good evening, Supervisor Hendrickson and members of the board. My name is Josh Robertson. I have the pleasure of serving on the Transportation Commission for the township and also on the Senior Community Center Task Force. So I'm here to give you guys just a quick overview. We've had 2 meetings so far. Give you a quick overview of those meetings, where we've gone so far, we've accomplished, and kind of where we're headed next. But going back a little bit, the task force has met twice so far now, on September 24th, on October 22nd as well, and we have a meeting next week on Tuesday. The meeting on the 24th was really mostly a introductory meeting for the task force members, but also to start the preliminary overview of some of the site locations for the Senior and Community Center location. We did a nice site review at a high level, thanks to Chair Hendrickson and others as well from the township who were able to give us an overview. On October 22nd, though, we really dove in very deep into all the properties, all the locations, so to speak. I think in totality, we reviewed 10 of them, and we set ourselves a goal for that meeting on the 22nd to take that list of 10 locations and dwindle that down as far as we could to really honing in on the best prospect for the center. We were successful in that endeavor. We were able to take our list of 10 and we dropped it to 3. And I will kind of give you a very quick overview of those 3. I'll start with the most probably recent and kind of memorable location, and that is the Yonkers site location with the Meridian Mall. So we had 3 locations. One of them that we wanted to make sure we had as a backup is that Yonkers site location, just given the amount of time, staff effort, resources, review, development that had gone into that. The other 2 locations, I will say, have received a lot of, from our task force, a lot of attention and praise and excitement. So we're really looking forward to one of these 2 ultimately being the decision of the task force, with a lot of work still, of course, left to come. We have the other 2 locations, we whittled this down to where one, the township currently owns, and the other that the township would need to procure or purchase. So the first property or location is referenced as the Meridian Township Central Fire Station. That's 500 Okemos Road. That's just behind the fire station there at that corner. It's nearly 10 acres in size of buildable size. Like I mentioned, it's already owned by the township. And another advantageous aspect of this property is that its location to the township other properties that we have, making it very cohesive with celebration events or township events in the area. Very close to the mall, obviously close to Okemos Road, close to the road that joins through between the township building and the mall as well. I should have mentioned this, when we looked at all these properties for consideration, we were really looking at accessibility, so CATA locations, CATA stops, parking locations, how central it was geographically, but also population-wise to the township itself, noise, congestion, and then room to grow and or expand. So first one, again, Meridian Township Central Fire Station, sitting behind the fire station itself. The second one, which would not be owned by the township, which would need to be purchased, is 1410 Grand River Avenue. It is currently being used as a driving range, and it is nearly 21 acres in size. It is currently for sale in the market, I think for $4.5 million, and would be a property, given its size, where we could have probably a lot of different uses out of it. Of course, the community, senior community center aspect of it, but then there's some other ideas that potentially using some dollars from the township for land preservation or athletics or recreational activities as well. So it could be a really neat property from the township's perspective of more use. And then again, I mentioned the Yonkers site. So we kind of have all 3 meeting next week, I think, under Chair Hendrickson to kind of hammer down on those details to ultimately hopefully get closer to the 1. And with that, that's my update, short and sweet. If there's any questions I can answer for you tonight, of course I would like to. Otherwise, we meet again next week and I can bring any questions or thoughts we have back to the committee task force.
Thank you very much, Board. Any questions? Well, if there are any board members who are interested, we do meet at 6 o'clock. The meetings are televised, thanks to the hard work of our communications commission and our communications staff. And you're welcome to watch and join in. I can tell you that, we had some very exciting discussions and thoughts about both potential sites, and we look forward to getting more details on that. So thank you to Josh for stopping by and giving us an update.
Absolutely.
And you can expect, I believe, 3 more of these updates as we continue along the process every couple of months. So,
Great, thank you very much.
thank you very much. Next up, we have Chief Hamill to give us an update on the warning siren project that we all know so well has been going on for a number of years here. So Chief Hamill, what have you got for us?
Thank you, Supervisor. Thank you, Board. Very exciting times that we completed a project, and I always like completing projects ahead of time. So let's just talk a little bit of history before I get too much into this. Well, that's kind of what presentation I'm up for you to be able to view. So I started working with sirens back in about 2006. I believe that was the last time Lansing had a tornado, and I was working there at the time. And then we had one in Williamston shortly after that. And we started revamping our siren process throughout the entire county. Because what we used to do is for every tornado that came, we'd set every siren off in the county. Well, if I have a siren, or if I have a tornado in Lansing, Stockbridge really doesn't need to know that. So what we did was we revamped it, working with Ingham County Emergency Management, Lansing Emergency Management, and the 911 center, is we did 4 quadrants, if you will, for the whole county, and then we put one in the middle. So the siren gets activated only in areas it needs to be, because people would obviously panic and react when there was no need to. What that led to also is additional sirens throughout the entire county, and it became a project for most municipalities or county projects when we had lots of Homeland Security money before that dried up. And then sometimes mitigation dollars after a declaration or things like that. Sometimes you could write for sirens, but that kind of got very difficult with the feds because they had other projects they were funding. So if you go back to Meridian Township, actually Chief Kelper back in 2012, we had 5 sirens. He asked for an increase of 1. He asked for fixing 2 of them. And so that was 6 sirens for the entire township. Not enough, obviously, and you can look at the map, and as we move forward in the presentation, you'll see how the map is fulfilled. In 2017, prior to my arrival, a year and a half, Chief Kelper and all of you, many of you, or some of you, sorry, with the manager, looked at increasing this project to 15 total sirens. And then we missed, after I started, Treasurer Duchesne pointed out the little corner top left that I thought was East Lansing, and so we added that to the project. And then lo and behold, in 2023 August came the storm with 80-mile-an-hour winds and the tornado that touched down on I-96 and rolled over a bunch of semis and things like that. And then with the manager and us talking and your support, you decided let's just do the last 4 now. And so over the past year, the last 4 have been installed. You can see all of the locations on the second slide, and you can see that the map is now filled with those sirens in the locations. It's about a $300,000 project that you all approved over the many years. And I think it's a tremendous use of taxpayers' dollars to protect them. The big thing that I want people to remember on the slide 1 and slide 2 is what do we do during a siren? Well, the sirens are not made for you to hear inside, although it's possible. You can hear them inside, especially when they're in your parking lot or near your house. But they're generally for the outside, golfers, people in parks, people jogging, things like that, outdoor events. But the intent is get inside, and as you can see, I'm sorry, on the first page, slide 2, get in lower levels. For example, here in this building, if we were to do a tornado shelter in place, everybody upstairs should come downstairs. We don't use this room because it's too big and it's easily collapsed. And so we set up strategic areas, and we tell residents same thing. Go to your basement, have a weather radio so you can tune in. Obviously, you could use your phone because we can get everything on our phone. And then as we move forward from there, It protects our township, and again, it's been an amazing project. 16 total sirens. I can tell you there's other municipalities that are still trying. $30,000 a piece is a lot of money, and it's hard to do that. County struggles doing theirs. So if you go to the last page, basically I want to thank West Shore. They are the ones who pretty much service all the sirens in the state of Michigan for the most part, and they're actually all over the country. But I also want to thank consumers. Consumers installed all these for free. So let me kind of break that down. West Shore installed them, consumers wired them to their power. And then over, obviously, this year, Melissa Massey, our project manager, ran with the project while I was off on medical leave and did a great job and finalized this project of the 4 this year. So just exciting to finally be done with it. It's a great project, and now I got to find another project to do annually. Any questions?
That needs to be replaced.
Yeah.
Any questions, board members? Yes.
Just real quick, in terms of the sirens themselves, what is a typical lifespan of the sirens, and how often do you test them?
So great question. So I don't know that there truly is a lifespan of the siren itself. The batteries have a 4 to 6 year lifespan, and they like to replace them in 4. We did a preventative maintenance program with these last 4 for, I think, 5 years that will help us so we have no additional cost for the next 5 years, I believe it is. The sirens themselves will last forever. It's pieces and parts. I know, for example, I was talking to a counterpart at the county, and they found one that a squirrel had made a nest in. How they got in there, we don't know, but it ruined the circuit board inside, which is $1,000 plus. So we'd like to think that they're shut. Somehow a squirrel found its way in, kind of like they do with anywhere. And so, yeah, it's really the maintenance, the upkeep, and the batteries and the little things. The sirens will last forever.
Testing.
Oh, testing.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. And that's on here, and I forgot to bring it up. So they're actually tested weekly. We know the loud test is done the first Saturday of every month at 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock.
And that's statewide. But they do what they call a silent test every Saturday to make sure. And then I get a report, and I always look at the report to make sure all 16 of our sirens show that they received the message, they reported back, and they're working.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. For these next 2, I get to present. So I will transition over to the podium. So this evening is a bittersweet night. We have a lot, obviously, to be thankful for in the community, a lot of presentations about the excellent things that we're doing. But we also tonight have to say goodbye, our final meeting with 2 of our board members. And so I'm here tonight to offer tribute to our 2 board members who will be leaving us after this evening. And so first, I would like to offer a tribute of appreciation to Meridian Township Clerk Deborah Guthrie. And I will just say that Deborah is an incredibly passionate advocate for the residents of Meridian Township. And she has been laser focused on providing the best customer service for our residents as humanly possible, and has spent the last 4 years transforming the clerk's office into an office to be incredibly proud of. And the work that they've done, especially with the 2024 election just recently, has been incredible. And so tonight we offer a tribute of appreciation to Clerk Guthrie for her years of service. And I will go ahead and read it. Deborah, if you'd like to come join me up here, we'll be able to hand it to you at the end as well. So, whereas Deborah Guthrie worked for Meridian Township for 22 years, starting in 1997 as an intern, and working her way up to communications director, a long and storied career in public service. And whereas during that time, Deborah improved home TV and the township's communications department, building the award-winning nature of the organization. And whereas, after leaving employment, Deborah sought to continue her service to the township and was elected township clerk in 2020. And whereas during her tenure as clerk, Deborah has ably represented the interests of the board and citizens of Meridian Township on the Communications Commission, Election Commission, and Tri-County Regional Planning Commission. And whereas Clerk Guthrie has worked tirelessly to advance the goals and objectives adopted by the board, selflessly contributing valuable focus, perspective, insight, and energy to our most challenging efforts and subsequent accomplishments. And whereas Clerk Guthrie, in her 4 years leading the clerk's office, has brought an eye for detail and a new level of professionalism to the office with a specific focus of improving policies and procedures, setting the table for future elected clerks to succeed based on her work over the past 4 years. Now, therefore be it resolved by the Township Board of the Chartered Township of Meridian, Hingham County, Michigan, wishes publicly to recognize, commend, and thank Deborah Guthrie for her invaluable contributions to and impacts on the work of this board and the quality of life of this community. The board is grateful for your outstanding public service and wishes you well in your future pursuits.
Do you want us in front of the podium, too?
James Leo's. Love it. Thank you.
Please. Take the power away.
Well, I wasn't planning on saying something, but thank you so much for that very lovely tribute. I appreciate it. I began as a non-paid intern in 1996 and to pursue a career in broadcast journalism for sports. And as I was pursuing that, an opportunity came up here at Meridian Township, and I was offered an opportunity to apply here for a full-time position. And my husband said, "You need to take it, you need to do it." And I said, "Really? Are you sure?" He said, "Yes." And so I did, and it was the best advice and one of the best decisions I ever made in my life. Meridian Township has been my second home. I've loved working here. I've enjoyed working here. I love the people here. I love every single job I've ever had here. The good, the bad, everything's enjoyable. I could never explain what I walked into in the clerk's office and what we had to do to build the clerk's office. But the people who worked with me and stayed with it know how hard it was to bring the clerk's office up to where it is today. I didn't do it myself. There are a lot of people who contributed, and so I'm most proud of all of the people that I've ever worked with, including the Township Board, and especially Phil DeShane being my neighbor inside the building and being able to talk about not things on the agenda, but board stuff with somebody else in the building because we're surrounded by staff. So it was really nice to be able to bounce things off with another board member. Marna's been my rock on several occasions. I showed up at her doorstep asking for advice, and she's been tremendous working with Peter on the policy review committee, and we were like, we just barreled through it and got those policies done. I wish they were approved by the board prior to leaving this position, but I know it'll be in front of the board and you'll approve it. And just Scott, tremendous person who's had my back and advice giver for elections and that kind of thing, and he's a tremendous person. And same with Kathy and James, and just the entire board has been great, even the past board members. So I can go on, but it's been a tremendous benefit to serve Meridian Township and to work here, and I've enjoyed every minute of it. And I'm going on sabbatical until I figure out what I'm going to do next. So for now, it's going to be a little reprieve. So thank you.
Two in one evening really isn't isn't fair. But I'm here now to offer a tribute of appreciation to trustee James McCurtis. If you would please come and join me as well. We knew when trustee McCurtis joined us that it would be for a relatively short period coming after the filing deadline for trustee. And it was an incredibly difficult thing that was asked of trustee McCurtis, which was to come up to speed on all the activities that the board does and to contribute right away. And he met that challenge with flying colors. He's been a steady presence on the board, has always brought a professional demeanor and atmosphere to the board, and has really helped us through some of our most challenging issues that I've dealt with when I was on the board, and has done so with aplomb. And so tonight we're going to offer a tribute of appreciation to trustee James McCurtis that reads as such. Whereas, after he received a degree in journalism and mass communication from the University of Iowa, James McCurtis moved to Meridian Township in 2001, serving as a reporter with the Lansing State Journal, covering Meridian Township government and development. And whereas Mr. McCurtis began his service to the interests of Meridian Township in 2023, when he was appointed to the Township Planning Commission, and whereas, upon a vacancy in the Township Board, Mr. McCurtis sought an opportunity to deepen his service to the Township and was appointed to the Township Board in June of 2024. And whereas during his tenure as trustee McCurtis has ably represented the interests of the board and citizens of Meridian Township, helping to adopt a balanced budget, navigating challenging and pressing issues, and preparing for the future selection of the new township manager. And whereas trustee McCurtis was a strong voice of reason and stability during his time on the township board, helping the township to move forward. And whereas James McCurtis has served the Meridian Township community well and will be missed on the township board as he embarks on new areas of service to the township. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Township Board of the Charter Township of Meridian, Ingham County, Michigan. We wish publicly to recognize, commend, and thank James McCurtis for invaluable contributions to and impacts on the work of this board and the quality of life in our community. And we are grateful for your outstanding public service. Thank you. Please. The floor is yours.
My career or whatever with the township is not that short-lived, and I knew that when I came onto the township board because it was an appointed position that we're in today. But my work isn't done. I plan on serving the commission, serving the township in other capacities. As you all heard, I was a reporter at the Lansing State Journal, so I've been in this township for more than 20 years, raised my 3 sons here, one who's a junior at the University of Iowa, go Hawkeyes, and the other 2 who are in the 8th and 6th grades here. I got the inspiration to serve, I always served like through the Meals on Wheels program and that sort of thing, and in mobile food pantry and all that to residents in the township. But we were approached to have a fundraiser for the township's Juneteenth celebration, and that was a couple of years ago. So my wife Cynthia and I held a fundraiser at my house, and a lot of people came and supported that, and that gave me the inspiration to really serve our community. Because that was tangible, something that people were really interested in, really wanted to make a difference and raise money to help with our Juneteenth celebration here in the township. So with that, I started to apply for, various commissions, and again, got with the Planning Commission. When this came about, really wanted to serve in one of the highest capacities in the township. And my work isn't done, so I look forward to working more. But I do want to thank everyone who is on the board with helping me to get acclimated and get caught up on all the different issues that we've had. You've all been great, and I learned so much from all of you, and I really do appreciate that. I look forward to working with you in the future in other capacities with the township, so thank you all. Thank you.
Next on our agenda, because the township business must continue on, sadly, is item number 5, our citizens address agenda items and non-agenda items. If any citizens are wishing to speak in front of the board this evening, if you could please fill out a green card and hand that to one of our staff members, we'd very much appreciate that. Any members of the public wishing to speak this evening? I do have one green card from Barbara O'Kelly, who appears to have stepped out perhaps. Okay. Seeing no one rushing to the green cards, we will go ahead and consider public comment closed at 6:49 p.m. Next up on our agenda is item 6, interim township manager report. Interim township manager Schmidt is here to give it.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. So Director Massey and Chief Hamill are working on implementing a community AED program, and this will come forward to the board with some more details in the future. I just wanted to sort of kick it off because we have gotten a couple of these out there in the community, and so essentially, because of our striker contract, we get better pricing. And so we're developing this program to essentially run it through us to help businesses in the community be able to purchase them at a reduced rate. This also gets us further along towards a heart-safe community designation, which is a goal of the fire department. The goal is to have these AEDs placed throughout the township, have sufficient training on how to use them, because it's our best chance of survival for someone that has a cardiac incident outside of a hospital. This is how you save lives. And so Chief Hamill has presented this to the EDC, which is acting as the fiduciary for the project, and we'll be bringing forward details of this at the near future with specifics on the project. I believe we have 2 currently going, and hopefully we can expand this greatly throughout the community and it becomes second nature throughout Meridian Township. Excuse me, Alden Township is on board with our proposal, excuse me, for utilizing our building official for their building services. So we'll be bringing that contract back to the board for final approval in the near future. We just have to finish up the language on that. We'll essentially model it after our Mason contract, which has proved to be successful for the last several years. Speaking of the building official, we have posted for our building official, as I have not been able to convince Mr. Heckman to stay on much longer. He has served this township ably for well over 20 years and is a phenomenal building official, a huge loss for us, but hopefully we're going to spend some time recruiting here. We've got a couple of leads that we're working on and hope to bring in someone equally as outstanding in the near future. Plant Moran is currently on board, working through our finance director position. Thank you to Director Gabius and IT for getting them set up with remote work, and for our 2 staff members in the finance department for helping get them acclimated. We're very happy with the Plant Moran group led by Carrie Shea, and they are going to help us out here for the next few months. Just a reminder on a couple of things coming up. Farmers Market mural dedication is the 23rd after the market, and so probably about 2:30 will be the dedication. And then the swearing in for the new board members and for the Parks Commission will be on the 20th here in Town Hall Room at about noon, since that's when the term starts. Lastly, given that I have the podium, I would like to take this opportunity to thank Clerk Guthrie and Trustee McCurtis for your service to this community. You know, you're both phenomenal public servants. I have appreciated working under you and for you, and specifically Clerk Guthrie, I appreciate the opportunity you provided me to step into this interim role and as your role in making that decision back in April. You both are phenomenal, and I hope to still see you around because there's a lot of work still to be done. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions for Manager Schmidt? Seeing none, thank you very much. Next up is board member activities and announcements. Any board members wishing to make reports this evening? Treasurer DeShane.
Thank you. Hello. Trustee Wilson, I think I had her hand up first.
It doesn't matter.
I often go first. Please go first.
Well, thank you.
Trustee Wilson.
I attended the CRC Community Resource Commission last week. They received a $10,000 amendment to their budget, so they had $50,000 to spend this year. They have already spent $44,000, so they're well on their way to fully utilizing their budget. And in addition to that, they've been working on collecting money, contributions, so that they can offer holiday baskets to those less fortunate in our community. And they have assembled sufficient funds to feed about 280 families for this holiday season. So I'm really thrilled to bring you that news. Thank you.
Thank you. Treasurer DeShane.
Thank you. The theme already in this meeting is commitment to our Meridian community. We've seen lots of it. Ted Ferris was here earlier, and another longtime scout leader, Jim Winsand, is here. You know, scouting really builds community, and it wouldn't happen without these adults that give countless hours to make scouting work. And scouting now includes young women and young men. So, in fact, some young women are part of the Scouting USA movement here earlier. Secondly, I want to thank Alexis Mansour and Bill McConnell for their superb service. I served under the ZBA, Alexa, and she was a very good, as described by Dan and others. It's a tough job, and she did it very, very well. And Bill, both on the Planning Commission and Environmental Commission, has been an outstanding leader. Thirdly, our newest member of the CRC, Dawn Orr, is here, and I hope she'll stay around to the end and introduce herself. Public comments. Welcome. And lastly, speaking of community, there's just no one that represents the Meridian community better than you, Deborah. You were here long before I ever showed up in the building, and I'm still adjusting to the fact that you will no longer be a clerk. You've done a superb job. You really have turned the office around in a very short period of time. Thank you. And James, my gosh, the job you've done in 6 months here put the rest of us to shame. It took me years to figure out what you figured out in just a couple of meetings. So you were great, and I hope you'll stay close. You see from the board, the pictures up there, we do have a fair amount of turnover on this board, and you'll be around, because I know if you were another appointment that this board had to make, you would be at the top of my list. So thanks for your great service. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Sunland.
Okay. I attended the Economic Development Corporation meeting on November 7th. And we had a huge presentation on the Meridian Township Heart Safe program. So you all just kind of heard from Chief Hamill tonight about the cardiac awareness, the AEDs that are being put into the township, which is saving lives. So also we talked about the Lunar New Year sponsorship, or we're gonna sponsor the Lunar New Year at the Meridian Mall. It's scheduled for February 2nd. So that's always been such a colorful, enjoyable event of culture. So, and we just discussed, the calendar for the year and the budget. So that was pretty much it for the EDC meeting this month.
Great. Thank you very much. Other board members? Clerk Guthrie.
Thank you, Supervisor Hendrickson. So further on the agenda is the resolution in support of Native American History Month. And so I look forward to this. One of the first assignments I had as a full-time employee was to do a special feature on Native American history in Meridian Township. And so that took quite a bit of time to research it, and it ended up being like a 10-minute special feature piece. And then, ironically, one of the last items that I did was a resolution and feature of Native American history as part of the 175th anniversary that we did. And then as a board member, I served on the Okemos Mascot Committee in the selection of a new mascot. So there's a lot of Native American history in here that is valuable and important for us to understand. History is important to understand where you've been, where you're going, transitions and all that kind of thing. And so I want to encourage people to go to okemos.org. They do have weekly lessons on the Ojibwe language. They have Native family engagement events, and they have Native crafting classes that are coming up this November and in December. And they do have sale of items there that help support the Nokomis Cultural Heritage Center. I'm so used to saying what their name used to be. I'm not going to say it, but that's what their new name is. So please do support them and the rich culture that they provide to this community. Other than that, elections, I do have some election result numbers if you're interested. The results by precinct and summary can be found on the Ingham County website, of course. Meridian Township had a 97% return rate on absentee ballots. Almost 15,000 absentee ballots were issued. Almost 14,500 were returned. So imagine election workers in the clerk's office, in the back, in the AV room, issuing and receiving all of those absentee ballots, and the number of people that it took to prep those ballots to be sent out to our voters. It took quite an endeavor, and I'm very appreciative for everyone who worked on that. Early voting numbers. We had almost 5,500 early voters in November. Super significant because we had less than 500 in February and we had less than 400 in August. And in November, we had almost 5,500. Blew us away how many early voters that we had in here. The lobby was packed. Somebody asked me what the lobby capacity was. I said, well, the fire department only has a capacity listed in the town hall room, and we're still good with that. There's nothing listed for the lobby, so we're okay. Maybe that's a future project, Chief Hamill. I heard you saying you wanted something to work on. Capacity for the lobby. All right, Election Day, we had a little over 6,000 voters who voted at the polls. So we had in combination of early, absentee, and voters at the poll, we had over 26,000 voters out of almost 31,000, a little bit over 31,000 verified voters, which is an 84% participation rate in Meridian Township. And I kept saying all along, Meridian Township has fantastic voters. They're like super polite. We didn't have any issues. They are so appreciative of the work that we do. And I think Meridian Township has the best public, residents, community members, election workers. Dawn Orr's here. She's been one of our election workers for years. I'm super appreciative of all your time that you spent, and you were here for early voting all day, all night. You were stuck. The election workers were stuck. They could barely breathe, so we had to order food for everyone and say, please go eat. It was difficult to take a breath, and so I appreciate you and everyone else who was here for early voting, because it was a lot. It was a lot to do. So I'm definitely proud of the election security measures that we put into place, and I know that the two chiefs will work with the next clerk on continuing the election security measures, and I'm meeting with the new clerk this Friday, and I have a couple other meetings with her as well to transition the position over, and so I'm looking forward to it, and hopefully there'll be an opportunity to introduce her to the people that we work with at the different polling locations and some of our election workers as well. So I've already communicated with the interim township manager that I'm available for any questions if you have them. If not, no big deal, but if you do, I'm available, I'm willing, my calendar's open. So thank you, that's my report.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
May I piggyback onto Clerk Guthrie? As a founder of the Nokomis Learning Center with a wonderful group of people in 1988, I'd like to remind everyone that the Nokomis Holiday Gift Sale will take place on December 7th, 8th, and 14th. So it's 2 Saturdays and I believe a Sunday from 10 until 5 at the center. It'd be wonderful if you could support them.
Trustee Trezise.
Yeah, I want to thank Deb for the election she ran this year, the elections she ran this year. 3 of them in 9 months. Keeps you busy. I'm impressed with the numbers that turned out, the early voting, but I think you forgot to mention one unique activity that the clerk did this year, and that was setting up a remote
A satellite office.
satellite office at MSU with their early voting center, because there are several thousand students at MSU who think they vote at MSU or in East Lansing and actually are Meridian residents, and you were able to intercept a number of them. I don't know how many you may have registered, given them absentee ballots, and that contributed to our vote outcome or vote totals, and it was a nice addition. And I'm sure in all your spare time leading up to the actual date of the election, spending 3 days or sending your staff for 3 days over to MSU to register voters was an imposition, but it was a very good one. So thank you.
Thank you. We had about 25 at the satellite office register on election day and get absentee ballots. The 230 or so. So over 200 of them were here at the clerk's office on election day that we registered. Wonderful. Just to give you that number, so you know. Yep. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll add my reports and announcements as well. I did have a conversation with Township Prosecutor Colin Harkness. His contract is coming up in April, so we're likely going to be hearing from him in the next few months here as he's preparing for that. I met with the Senior Community Center Task Force, as Mr. Robinson presented on this evening. Really excited about the possibility of some of these sites that we're discussing. Looking forward to some more positive momentum on that. One other item that was requested and we are moving forward with at the behest of our Senior Center Advisory Board is we are conducting a needs assessment through our professional contractor, Progressive AE. So they'll be working with our current senior center and expanding also, I believe, into other senior groups in the area to identify what we can bring into this facility as we move forward here. I did want to add, I know that Alexia has left, but I did serve on the ZBA with Alexia Mansour as well. For several years as the Planning Commission's representative to the ZBA. And all of the plaudits that she was given this evening are definitely well earned. Those meetings are incredibly difficult to navigate, and her even-keeled temperament from the chair's seat on that commission is certainly one of the reasons, or maybe the reason, that that body has continued to be as successful as it has. I am a little bummed that they changed the criteria after I left and reduced from 2 meetings down to 1 each month after I left. But certainly those were changes that were necessary and have improved and streamlined that body. And Chairman Mansour was a big part in helping to make that all happen, along with our staff. And so I wanted to add my thanks and appreciation to her as well. And then, of course, Bill McConnell, who I served on the Planning Commission with for several years. Can't say enough good things about Bill McConnell. The sheer energy and enthusiasm and drive and passion that he brings to not just the Planning Commission, but also the Environmental Commission. You can feel his excitement when he's talking about it. And now we're on the board, we get to hear it once a year when he comes in and presents at the Boards and Commissions meeting. But if you show up at the Planning Commission or you show up at the Environmental Commission, it's just as prevalent there. At each and every meeting. And really, it's one of those folks that he brings everyone else up and makes everyone else want to participate more. And so I thank him for his service. And like I said before, we're not letting go of you yet, so stick around. And then the last announcement I'll make is that on not this coming Saturday, but next Saturday, the 23rd, at 2 p.m. at the Marketplace on the Green, we are having a dedication for the new Farmers Market mural. So feel free to stop by and take a peek at that. That's 2 p.m. on November 23rd. So with that, that brings us to agenda item number 7, which is approval, or sorry, 8, which is approval of the agenda. Through a motion to approve the agenda this evening.
So moved.
Second.
Support.
Moved by Treasurer DeShane, supported by Trustee McCurtis. Any changes or updates to the agenda? Seeing none, all in favor of the agenda as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion passes. Next on our agenda is item 9, communications. Consent agenda. We have a number of items on the consent agenda this evening, including this communications, the minutes from our October 15th meeting, the bills, a resolution to set a special meeting date for a retreat on November 23rd, a memorandum of understanding with Ingham County for the fire emergency boat launch, the investment report for the third quarter from 2024, a resolution in support of Small Business Saturday, a resolution in support of Native American History Month, and replacement of delinquent special assessments, delinquent utilities, delinquent false alarms, unpaid lot mowing, code violations, and miscellaneous fees onto the winter tax roll for 2024. Do we have a motion for the consent agenda? Trustee Trezise.
I move to adopt the consent agenda.
Do we have a support?
Support.
Supported by Trustee McCurtis. Any comments on the consent agenda, Treasurer DeShane?
Thank you. Interim Manager Schmidt, could you bring up the board packet on the screen for us and turn to page 53? The quarterly investment report is included here, and since it amounts to around $42 million, I think we should probably take a minute. I reported it to you this month in a different format, but I should have included the old format just to give you some context for it. So I'm passing out the old format, and I want to at least tie back some numbers for you. On page 43, if you look at it electronically of the packet, there's the cover, and then table of contents, and then this screen here is a bit of a dashboard, and you'll see that portfolio value 42,192,791, which relates to the totals on the page that you're used to getting of all fixed and non-fixed investments. So that's where that number ties back. The goal is that if you're busy, you don't have time to go through all these in detail, you can look at this one screen and get a quick snapshot of it. Shows you how many different institutions were invested in, purchase yield, which go back up for a second. And then the estimated annual income of that has gone up considerably in this high interest rate environment. As long as rates stay high, and they have stayed high, we'll be well served by that. Average coupon, average interest rate on them, and the maturity, 1.5 years. Moving over to the right, you'll see how it's what the investments are for. Most of it's a general fund investments. Although a lot of it is encumbered general funds investments. We're just seeing the money that we can actually do something with, but there are several million there that are encumbered. Then land preserves, reserves, and public works. Moving back down to the bottom left, you'll see a cash balance for the third quarter. There's 21 million and some change, 29 million and some change. It's down to 19,700,000 now. This is very typical. We get all of our money in the first quarter and we spend it down until the end of November. So we're right on schedule for that. And then where the money is invested on the right-hand side there, Michigan class has a large portion of it. Michigan class is an investment pool available to municipalities and school districts in Michigan. It's very liquid. We can get all that cash as quickly as we need, same day if we need to, but it pays the same rate as a 4-year CD or 4-year treasury. On the bottom, it has MBS. That stands for multi-bank securities, and that's an aggregator of about a half dozen different Fannie Mae, federal treasuries, and other bonds that we hold. And then some money is also in checking accounts, as you can see there, in the form of CDs. So that's a quick snapshot, tying it back here to the old format. And then there's another dozen pages of detail there. This is just the first draft. I'm going to continue to refine it with our partners at Robinson Capital. One thing that the board doesn't appreciate yet, but I hopefully will, is this report you're looking on the screen didn't come from my office. It came from Robinson Capital. They are our investment advisor. They pull all this money off of our custodial account at Huntington Bank. So in the past, if the treasurer was so inclined and the deputy treasurer went along with it, the board could have been fed some phony numbers, okay? The auditors would eventually caught it, okay? But nonetheless, the board report came from the board. This is a board report that comes from statements that are reported and then picked up by our investment firm, in this case, Watkins Capital. So it just gives you a greater sense of these numbers are the accurate numbers, reflected on statements and validated by a very reputable investment advisor. So anyway, please send me some feedback on this. If you like it, if you don't like it, we'll continue to refine it in the months ahead.
Thank you. Trustee Trezise.
I was just going to comment on that. I do like the presentation. It is much easier to read than just numbers on a page. And so I appreciate the effort, and I think it is important to have an outside agency preparing some of these so that we don't have the opportunity to get our fingers in there. So I also would like to comment on D in the consent agenda, which is the Township Board Special Meeting Retreat set at 8. That is currently proposed for November 23rd, 10 in the morning. I assume it will be here.
Yes, I should have mentioned that. We've had it at the fire station in the past, I think.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's available.
The 23rd.
Saturday.
Saturday, the 23rd at 10 a.m. 10 to, we think, around 2. Thanks for pointing that out.
No, I think our assumption was to host it here in the event, we had a lot of people show up. But we can certainly do either location unless the chief tells me in the next few seconds here that he is aware.
I don't really need to know the place right now. I just wanted to make sure that that is an open meeting to the public.
Yes.
It will be posted at least several days before, so the location can be put then.
Yeah.
But it is an open meeting to discuss the goals of next year, to do some orientation with our new board members, and the public is welcome to watch.
They are, as always.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Or join us.
Or join us, yes.
Let us confirm internally the benefits to this room. Obviously, if we need to pull something up, we can pull it up on the screen. I got access to the network. Benefit of the fire station is a little better room to have that kind of meeting in. So we'll discuss it internally tomorrow, and we'll get with the board in our Friday update.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, any other comments on the consent agenda? Seeing none, will Clerk Guthrie please call the roll?
Supervisor Hendrickson?
Yes.
Clerk Guthrie votes yes. Treasurer DeShane?
Yes.
Trustee McCurtis?
Yes.
Trustee Sunland? Yes. Trustee Trezise?
Yes.
Trustee Wilson?
Yes.
Dare you say Supervisor Henderson?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you very much. Next on our agenda is item 10, questions for the attorney. We have none. Hearings, we have none. And action items, I have 12A, and we have Chief Rick Grillo here to talk to us about Williamstown Township.
Thank you very much. A few weeks ago, we came together at a board meeting, had a quick discussion regarding our Williamstown Township police contract that we've had since 2011. In the past, we provided 80 hours of dedicated service to Williamstown Township per week, essentially taking patrol officers from here, sending them out there, and they're able to respond to calls. Also, outside of those 80 hours, we respond to calls as well. And in return, they have paid us essentially the equivalent of 1 to 2 patrol officers, depending on how many hours we're providing. A number of years ago, we had an issue once our staffing issues started to creep up. They elected to go down to 40 hours of service. And as staffing has improved, we have negotiated 60 hours of service depending on our staffing levels as well. So The current agreement that we have written up provides 40 hours of patrol service until April of '25, at which time I anticipate I will have the staffing numbers to provide them with up to 60 hours, and that's what the agreement is for. I took this agreement to Williamstown Township Board 2 weeks ago, and they approved it, so I'm just here to answer any questions you have about it.
Thank you very much. Board members, any questions? Trustee Trezise.
I don't have any questions. We discussed this at some length at our last board meeting. I think it's an excellent arrangement. I encourage collaboration with our neighbors, and I think this is a great service we can provide to them within our capacity, and it protects all of the citizens in mid-Michigan in this area to a better extent than they could do on their own, or that we could do on our own, probably. So I definitely support this.
Trustee Wilson.
There's a new supervisor of Williamstown Township effective last Tuesday. Have you had communication with that individual?
I have not, but I communicated with Supervisor Bloomquist last week regarding setting up a meeting. We're just trying to set up a day for that. So that is in the works. It will happen before the end of the year. We'll be able to sit down and have discussions.
And you don't anticipate any change in policy or structure or?
No, ma'am, I don't.
Regarding this? Okay, great. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other discussion or motion? Because we work and scroll. Trustee Trezise.
I move to approve the agreement to continue providing law enforcement services to Williamstown Township beginning January 1, 2025 through December 31, 2027 for emergency and non-emergency responses outside the 60 hours of weekly patrol, and to authorize the supervisor and clerk to sign the agreement.
Support.
Moved by Trustee Trezise, supported by Trustee Wilson. Any further discussion? Seeing none, will Clerk Guthrie please call the roll?
Treasurer DeShane.
Yes.
Trustee McCurtis.
Yes.
Trustee Sunland.
Yes.
Trustee Trezise.
Yes.
Trustee Wilson.
Yes.
Supervisor Hendrickson.
Yes.
And the clerk votes yes. Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you very much. Next on our agenda is item 12B, the PA 152 healthcare costs, and for this we have Interim Manager Schmidt.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. So this is one half of the discussion we previously had. At the last meeting, the board indicated a willingness to waive the hard cap under PA 152 to allow the township to pick up the approximately $134,000 we're over the hard cap. By way of reminder, we have been under the hard cap since its inception. On average, over the last 5 years, we've been under $212,000 on average. This year we're over, and it's largely due to the fact that the cap only went up 0.2%. Had it gone up at a normal rate, our back of the napkin calculations indicate we would have had a fighting chance to be under still. So we believe that there's a chance this is a one-time waiver, but we will continue to monitor this throughout the year. Should the board choose to make this piece of the request approved, and then, as we mentioned at the last meeting, we will at some point bring back the discussion on the HSAs once we've had an opportunity to do some more math and figure out how we can make it work. And we'll bring that discussion back to the board for further discussion after the first of the year.
Thank you very much. Board members, any questions or discussion or a motion to be made? Trustee Wilson.
Move to approve the resolution to adopt the annual exemption option, section, 8, as set forth in 2011 Public Act 152, the Publicly Funded Health Insurance Contribution Act.
Moved by Trustee Wilson, supported by Trustee Sunland. Any discussion? Treasurer DeShane.
I would ask permission to abstain from this vote because it would impact me directly as a township employee.
Without objection? All right, considered adopted. Any further discussion on this, Trustee Trezise?
Yes, I'm going to vote for this. mainly because it's a surprise to our employees. But I don't know if we continue to be faced with the cap going forward, that I would be willing to continue this forever. It is not unusual for employees to have to pay a portion of their insurance. As a matter of fact, it's probably extremely unusual but since we have been below the cap for many years, I'm okay with doing this because it would be a shock to our employees. But in the future, I'm not committing to do that because I don't think we can continue. We have no control over the cost of insurance other than negotiating different coverages, which the employees would face limitations on that. So I think this is a one-time for me at this point, and to look at each year to determine where we will go in the future. It's just want to let our employees know that this, I don't see this as a eternal commitment. That's all.
Other board members? Yeah, I'll also be supporting this at this time. We shouldn't pull the rug out on folks in this way. I mean, it would not be right, it would not be fair, and it would not be in good faith to do so, I don't think. I agree, we may have to examine the long-term ramifications of this as we move forward. Certainly, it's been a boon to our employees to have health insurance that came at no cost. And we at the township are in an incredibly unique position where we have not yet hit this hard cap. Most municipalities, I'd wager to say the majority of municipalities go through this same process every year and are not able to cover the costs of their employees' health insurance that wouldn't be covered over the hard cap. And so certainly we shouldn't pull the rug out, we shouldn't blindside folks, but it may be something we need to address and look into as we move forward with our, over the next few years. But I will be supporting this evening. Other board members? Seeing none, the clerk will call the roll, please.
Trustee McCurtis.
Yes.
Trustee Sunland.
Yes.
Trustee Trezise.
Yes.
Trustee Wilson.
Yes.
Supervisor Hendrickson.
Yes.
And Clerk Guthrie votes yes. Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is item 12C, the manager review process. And this one I will present. As we've discussed at a previous meeting, this process is one that we have looked to make some amendments to. And what's before you this evening is the process that I have created in consultation with Director Tiethoff and the Human Resources Director. My understanding is that it's been floated to the collective bargaining units with no major objections to the process. The brief summary of the changes essentially would allow for our employees, several of them each year picked at random from the various bargaining units, as well as our at-will employees, to be included in the process of offering feedback on the township manager's performance to the township board, which will assist us with drafting the annual manager's review. The details are all in the process document that was provided to you in your board packets. And so we did discuss this, I believe, 2 meetings ago, maybe 3. I don't know. It's been a tough couple of months here. With no major objections, as I recall, to that, save a couple of wording changes which have been incorporated. And so the process and procedure is presented here for your review. Given the timing of it, we may implement it first next year, but here we are. And so I present this to you. Any board members' questions? Trustee McCurtis?
No questions. I was going to make a motion.
Please. Yeah.
Move to approve the manager review process as presented and adopt the township manager review form as presented.
Okay.
I'll support.
Moved by trustee McCurry, supported by trustee Trezise. Any discussion on this topic? Trustee Trezise.
I've been through, seems like dozens of these different types of evaluations in various positions. None of them are perfect. And this isn't perfect, but it is a real good step towards being better than what we have. And I appreciate the work you've done on this. I think bringing our employees involved as a part of the process is a plus. And I look forward to going through with this. So thank you very much for preparing this, along with Director Titoff, and let's pass it.
Okay, thank you. Trustee McCurtis.
I want to piggyback off what Trustee Trezise says. I also agree with that. I thought it was really key and important to get input from the township employees with this process. To have that buy-in makes everyone feel like they were part of the solution to this issue. And so that was real key. And so I commend you for that as well.
Thank you. Any other board members with comments to share? Clerk Guthrie.
Thank you. I too commend you for putting this together and encourage the board to have the rules and procedures and policies for the board and the personnel policies that the policy review committee worked so hard on in front of the board at an upcoming meeting. And I also know that there has been extensive work done on the manager's contract. I think all of these 4 items are important items that the board has been working on and has been working on with staff to improve the internal culture here at Meridian Township. And so I would encourage the supervisor to work with the interim township manager to get the other policies that the review committee completed 2-3 months ago in front of the township board, to have those approved as well to go along with this.
Thank you. All right. Treasurer Shane.
I too like the new form. I think they're good questions. I like the feedback from, to guide the board from employees as well. It's a better process. Good work.
Thank you. All right. Seeing no other hands raised, this does not really have any money attached to us. I don't believe a roll call is necessary. So all those in favor of the motion as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Lastly, on our action items agenda this evening is item 12D, the CATA Ready Ride millage. Treasurer DeShane has presented material to us at our places here, which I'm sure we will make sure it finds its way into the electronic packet for this in perpetuity. Treasurer DeShane, would you like to present?
Thank you, and I apologize for the fact that we're getting it to you at the last minute. We were not so time sensitive, we would have had more time. In 2019, Meridian Township voters approved of the CATA Meridian Ready Ride millage to pay for Ready Ride paratransit at a cost of .1971 or 2 mils, or about $27 per household, or $433,000 a year for all Meridian taxpayers. CATA also collects a regular millage of 2.989 mils, almost 3, $410 per household, or about $6.5 million. That's the CATA standard service. CATA recently approved their new budget that started October 1 that did not include the Ready Ride revenue on the current fiscal year they're in. CATA, at the same time, has told us they're willing to sign a new service agreement with us. They will continue to provide the same level of Ready Ride service without the millage. You might ask, why are they doing that? Well, the key is this number up above $6,576,000. That's what we pay CATA every year. CATA knows very well we don't use $6.5 million of services. We do use Ready Ride. And so as a token of appreciation for the support of Meridian voters, who just voted to renew the CATA millage, by the way, as well as the rest of the county did, they've agreed to remove the CATA Ready Ride millage. It's not a lot, but it's something, and I think it's a really important message from CATA. So that's the practical side of it. They're not expecting this money. So we turn this over to our attorneys, and if you'll see in the packet I gave you, there's two email chains. The first is between Matt Cushel, our attorney, and their attorney, and the second is between Matt and I. And if you will see here that the top of the last page of this packet, he says, Phil, based on their complete rewrite of our letter, it is my opinion that the board should not remove the CATA Ready Ride millage. Essentially, CATA would not come out and say, through their legal counsel, that they're not expecting it. Matt's concern was, what if Brad leaves? What if Brad's gone? We haven't assessed this millage, and now we're on the hook for it. And so until he got better clarification from CATA on this, he didn't think it was wise for us to remove it from the ballot. I spoke with Brad Funkhauser and said, Brad, we appreciate the gesture, but we can't act on it until we have a new letter from you or a specific communication from your attorney that states that you are not expecting the millage at the end of 2024, the upcoming tax bills. And if you turn to the second page, Brad writes, confirmation from Lindsay that the millage need not be levied, and then their legal language to that effect. So we've got the practical side. CAT is not expecting this money from the administration, and now the legal counsel confirms it with the action taken by the board to approve the 2025 budget. So I think, and Matt believes, we're in the clear not to assess the Ready Ride millage. So that's what this is in front of you. We've spoken with the assessor, and the assessor who prepares the L4029 form that is used to create the tax roll says she would like a motion from the board that states that we are acting affirmatively not to collect the millage, because this would be the fifth and final year of the millage that to be collected for Ready Ride. Either way, CATA will continue next year providing Ready Ride without an additional millage. So, and that service agreement is underway, and we'll have it signed by the end of the year. So that's a lot to give you here, but that's where we stand with the Ready Ride millage. It appears we can take off 0.2 of a mil off the winter tax bills that are going to be sent out in 2 weeks without any loss of Ready Ride service to our residents. Ready Ride, by the way, is being used by seniors, it's being used by people who need paratransit or need assisted help, but it's also being used by lots of families. They're allowing their kids to go to and from sports, after school programs, and other ways. So it's really being used by a broader part of the community. We've also extended the Ready Ride reach. It goes up to the Aquatic Center, it goes up to the Bath Myers, it goes to the MSU Service Center. There's even a proposal to take it all the way to McLaren. Whatever we tell CATA we want where the Ready Ride to go, it will go. So they're very agreeable to it. It doesn't have to be limited to only Meridian Township. Essentially, it will go wherever enough Meridian residents need it to go. So they've been flexible with that as well. So that's what I'm presenting you. Any questions on this?
Board members, any questions? Trustee Wilson.
So all of this correspondence has taken place in just the last 6 days.
Yes.
There's a letter at the back of this dated October 11th. That is a letter to interim manager Schmidt saying the CATA board approved this and the service agreement will expire and not renew. CATA will continue to provide Ready Ride to ensure public services. And this is signed by the chair or the chief executive officer of CATA. Should we not expect another letter from CATA that confirms their understanding that you're doing, this is the way we're going to go?
Include this letter because it didn't get signed. This was you don't see
I
it.
see that.
It was a draft, and this is what we need signed. So then that led to this correspondence between Matt and I about what do we need from them to take it off the ballot. And then that's when Matt began speaking with their legal counsel. I asked Matt the same question, do we need a letter? He says, we do not need a letter. We have an understanding. I spoke with their legal counsel. They're not expecting it. And essentially, they're not going to give us a formal letter. But they're, at the same time, the legal counsel has informed us that we have no need to collect it. They're not expecting it, and they will sign a new service agreement without it. I'd be more comfortable with a letter as well. That's why I started asking for that. And I was prepared to come to the board and say, sorry, we got to assess it, even though they don't want it. But Matt and their attorney worked it out. Said Matt Cushel, who's a very conservative attorney, has said no need to collect it. We're in the clear legally to not collect it.
Now, boards can change, and the CEO can change there, and so that's my concern on a go-forward basis. We have not formalized this. This is an understanding.
Well, that was Matt's concern as well. And that's why he had the discussion with their attorney, so they couldn't come back with us years from now and say, you should have collected this.
So we could put reliance on this chain of emails?
According to our legal counsel, we can. As you can see, he wasn't comfortable at first until he had direct contact with their legal counsel.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, so he was skeptical as well until he was speaking with her directly.
It just makes me uneasy not to have a formal agreement.
If you weren't giving us our taxpayers a $500,000 tax break, I wouldn't be comfortable with it either. But in this case, he said we're in the clear and we don't need to collect it.
Yeah, I think I'd point to the email of November 12th from the attorney for CATA, Desiree Dimmick. As the CATA board approved, Meridian Township ready ride millage of 0.2 mils pursuant to our September 18, 2019 service agreement will expire December 31st, 2024. And not renew. Pursuant to paragraph 2 of our agreement, CATA has received its last millage payment from Meridian Township, and Meridian Township does not need to levy any further to fulfill the agreement. So I think that is what the attorney
She's
saying.
asking the question, is this sufficient? And is their agreement, yes, it's sufficient.
Yes.
And Peter, you're exactly right. That's what Matt.
That's what convinced Matt that was.
Matt needed to see before he could give us the advice to go ahead.
And just to confirm, it appears as though on the 5th page of the provided materials that they confirmed their intent to have a new service agreement in the amount of $1 to basically commemorate what's present here on a go-forward basis for 2 years. So that's helpful too once we get that piece of the puzzle involved to say, hey, we're protecting ourselves contractually as well. But for now, if Matt Cushel's happy and feels that it's defensible in case of emergency break class, I'm feeling okay. Customer Chris?
I was just going to say, with the correspondence, and I mean, Trustee Trezise already pointed it out, I'm not an attorney by any stretch of the imagination, but it appears that with our attorney and their attorney, that these emails, even though it's not a formal letter, is legally binding. That's my
legally binding?
With the two counselors in agreement, and the email being a written document. Just a comment.
Clerk Guthrie?
So I'm assuming that we can get the minutes from this CATA board meeting where they state that they will not be needing any more millage. So we can get that. We can have our interim township manager or you can ask CATA for these minutes that we have it on record here at the township that they agreed to
Good
this.
point. And Attorney Cushel has already pulled those minutes down himself. I'll make sure we get a copy for
Okay.
us as well.
If we get some way, get it to the board members, that definitely solidifies it for me, makes me feel more comfortable.
Board members, are we comfortable making a motion this evening? Trustee Trezise.
I will make a motion to waive our rules.
Oh, yes, that's right.
Because this is the first reading of this and allow us to take action tonight.
Okay. Do we have a support to suspend our rules?
Support.
Supported by Treasurer DeShane. Any discussion? All those in favor of suspension of the rules, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. So we have to set aside our rules for the evening to take this up for the first time. Anyone want to make a motion on this? Trustee Trezise.
I'll propose the motion that the Meridian Township Board removes the CATA Ready Ride millage of approximately 0.1971 mils from the winter 2024 tax roll.
Support.
Supported by Treasurer DeShane. Any further discussion?
Question.
Yes, Trustee Harris.
Couple of questions. In terms of the millage, or not the millage, but Ready Ride, my son used to take it to when he went to and from high school. Does the cost of it change at all, given given this agreement?
It does not. It is still a standard 250 ride, $1.25, I believe, for students, and half that for low-income individuals. In fact, Meridian Care's director, our manager, Katie Loves, takes up passes and sells several dozen a month at Grange Acres and other senior housing facilities at 60 cents a ride. So it only varies by income.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion? I'll simply add my thanks to Treasurer DeShane for keeping on top of this issue. This has been something that it was a pie in the sky idea a while ago here. And his hard work on the CATA board and follow through with Director Funkhauser is what made all of this possible. It's not often we get to take a vote that has an actual and immediate impact to reduce our residents' tax burden, but here we are. And it's that kind of financial scrutiny and good public policy that we've come to appreciate from Treasurer DeShane's work. So thank you for that. Trustee Trezise.
The only comment I would make is the motion that I proposed, we've been talking about 0.2 mils, and I put it down at 0.1971. That's because of the Headley rollback.
Correct.
So if people have been watching this or listening to us and are confused about the difference, that's why. We will not be levying any millage for Ready Ride if this passes.
Thank you. All right. With no further discussion, Clerk Huffley, please call the roll.
Trustee Sunland. Yes. Trustee Trezise.
Yes.
Trustee Wilson. Yes. Supervisor Hendrickson.
Yes.
Clerk Guthrie votes yes. Treasurer DeShane.
Yes.
Trustee McCurtis.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you very much. Next on our agenda is item 13, the board discussion items. We have none. Comments from the public. Any members of the public wishing to make public comment this evening? Seeing none. Our next agenda item is item 15, other matters and board member comments. Any members of the board have anything they wish to discuss? I have two items to bring to the board's attention. One is our communications department has asked whether we would like to have the managerial interviews televised, as that is a public meeting with the board. My recommendation is that we do that. We're going to be having they're the same interview questions for everyone. We're having a public reception that evening. There's no reason why we shouldn't. Is there any objection from board members on that? All right, I will so note to our communications team, or perhaps they're watching and have already noted.
The only comment I would make about that, I agree they should be televised. We should make sure that those that are being interviewed subsequent to the first one do not have access to watch them.
Right.
So we will ask them to respect that.
Yes, as we have with our board, board interviews as well. And then,
just a quick question.
Yeah, of course.
I'm sorry. Will they be televised live?
Yes.
Live and, okay. Just.
I have a question, please.
Trustee Wilson.
Is there any concern about confidentiality that applicants have asked for?
I believe once they get to that stage, the confidentiality is waived as a finalist.
It's an Open Meetings Act requirement at that point.
Yes. And we have to move to approve the candidates in open session for
Yes.
interviews.
That's
So the
true.
names
So
are
it's out there. Okay, great.
And the last bit is, the board has been circulated a number of materials from Amy Cell Talent. I'm hoping that everyone did receive those.
Yes.
Okay, good. And I did forward those along to our new board members so they could begin to review those as well. I would also ask that, we're obviously going to be meeting on the 26th to discuss the selection of finalists in closed session. I'd ask that you please also take a look at the interview questions to determine if those interview questions are what we'd like to ask of our managerial candidates, and come with ideas to that meeting as well, if you'd like any changes. Trustee Wilson.
Can I comment, if you've had an opportunity to take a look at the 17 proposed candidates that have been brought before us, it will take you probably an hour to review every individual. So do set aside that time to do a thorough review per candidate. I was surprised at how much time it took, and I'm about 2/3 through the process.
It's lots of exciting material to review.
That's right.
So, all right, any other board member comments or matters? Saying none, the last thing on our agenda is to adjourn. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Support.
Moved by trustee McCordis, supported by clerk Guthrie. All those in favor of adjournment, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And we stand adjourned at 7:49 PM.
It's